Check. Check. Oh. Check. Check, check. Check, check. Check, 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 check. Check.
Test.
That was my question.
Yeah, Felicia, that's fine. But that,
The way we talk about it, that Detroit pick up one Friday, pick up one Friday, and the way it comes here. You don't think? No, they told me. I don't know that. I have no connection with them. إني قالوا هيك. I'm honored and privileged to be the paper. And I have my things on.
Commissioner, how you doing, sir? Good to see you. How's it going? Okay, good, good, good.
On the old film, sheriff's. Like 15 years ago.
Is that right? Really?
Well, a long time.
Okay, all right. I hope it was good.
Where's your tie? No, ما بدي talked to the judges and chambers yesterday. He had to talk to everybody, so we come out together. We're in the process of talking to the prosecutors now. Come out together to tell the media it's going to be enforced, and you cannot hold down your text while you're driving. So, but anyway, anything that's going to happen, get some stuff right. And if we take the rest of them,
Good morning. The Wayne County Commission will come to order this morning. Madam Clerk, will you please open the roll for attendance? Members, you may check in at your desk.
The board is now open for roll call. Chair Bell, Commissioner Varga, Commissioner Marecki have requested excuses. You have a quorum present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
If everyone please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk.
Invocation.
To introduce our invocator today is Commissioner Melissa Daub. Commissioner Daub.
Thank you, Vice Chair Palomero. Good morning, commissioners, staff, and guests. Today, I am proud to introduce our invocator for today, Tej Karan Singh, also known to his friends as Sunny. Sunny is a resident of Canton and an engineer by profession. He is a leader of the Punjabi Indian community, serving as a member of the religious group committee at the Singh Gurdwara Singh Sabha in Canton. In his spare time, Sonny serves others by acting as the patient and family advisor at Wayne Beaumont Hospital and is a member of the Canton Hate Crime Association, where he works to ensure that our residents are protected from religious, racial, and ethnic discrimination. Sikhism is a monotheistic religion that originated in the Punjab region of India. Sikhs believe in the equality of humankind, the concept of universal brotherhood of man, and one supreme, transcendent, and immanent God. The 10th District is home to many in the Sikh community, and I am pleased to have Sonny here to lead us in the invocation for today.
Good morning, everybody. I will recite this prayer in my native language first, which is Punjabi, and then I will translate into English. So bear with me. Probably you might not understand the first, but then I will explain. We believe in one God, the universal creator. Sikhs address him by saying, Vaheguru Ji. Vaheguru Ji is coming with a feeling, oh my Lord. So this prayer is to my Lord. Tu Thakur, tum pe ardas, jio pind sab teri ras. Tum mat pita, hum barik tere, tumri kirpa meh sukh kanere. Koi na jana tumra ant, uche te ucha bhagavant. सगल समगरी तुमरे सूतर धारी तुमते होए सो आज्ञाकारी तुमरी गत मित तुम ही जाने नानक दास सदा कुर्बानी तुमरी गत मित तुम ही जाने नानक दास सदा कुर्बानी. In English, you are our Lord. We call him Vaheguru Ji. I offer my prayer to you. This body and soul are your property and blessing. You are our mother and you are our father. We are all your children. In your grace, there are countless joys and pleasures. No one knows your limits. How big is your creation? O highest of the high, most generous God, you have connected all of your creation, this entire universe, through you, as a thread through the beads of a garland. All accept and obey your command. Only you and you know your state and extent. Servant Nanak is always and always grateful to you. Prophet Nanak is always and always grateful to you. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh. Those who believe in you will always be successful. So I pray to the Almighty, bless us all, bless America, bless Michigan, bless Wayne County, and bless Melissa Daub, the commissioner, to serve with full strength and with full fairness to all. Thank you very much, Almighty Vaheguru Ji. For Sikh awareness, I have these flyers. If anybody wants to read, it's a brief outline of Sikh religion. Thank you very much for everybody.
Thank you very much, Sonny, for your kind words and blessings. Madam Clerk, next item.
Reading, correcting, and approval of the journal.
Commissioner Ware.
Move approval.
It's been moved and approved to approve the journal. Members may vote.
Commissioner, make him a carbon Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item.
Report from the chair.
Thank you. Well, as you've noticed by now, something's a little different today. And after months of persuasion, not by me, but by NACO, the National Association of Counties, our chair has been convinced to present the Wayne County success story to a national audience. And that's where Alicia Bell is at today, to talk about the good things that are happening that want to be emulated by other counties throughout the country. So we wish her the best. We're proud of her, and nobody more than me will welcome her back here in the very near future. Madam Clerk, next item.
Unfinished business, there is none listed. We are moving to offering of all petitions, ordinances, resolutions, and presentations. There is one resolution listed, a resolution by Commissioner Baker McCormick recognizing October 2019 as National Bullying Prevention Month and urging other elected officials to take similar action in condemning bullying and supporting those working to bring it to an end.
Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought it was important in my community in which I live in, born and raised in Northwest Detroit, to talk about the issue of bullying in schools and in our community. I was a victim of bullying as a young adult, as a young child, and it means a lot to me that we should try to stop this epidemic. It is an epidemic, and many of our young people are killing themselves over the issues of people bullying, either online and or in the classroom. So I brought this resolution to you and I hope my colleagues would also support.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, and Mr. Chair, and I wanted to thank my colleague for bringing this forth. Bullying is something I worked on for many, many years in Lansing, and in my time in the Senate was able to amend the law that I thought fell short that the legislature adopted because it did not include cyberbullying, and was able to get that signed into law. And I appreciate you doing this to again highlight the issue, because it has not gone away. It continues to be a problem, and that I wanted to express my appreciation to her for offering this resolution.
Thank you.
Commissioner Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I also want to commend you. My son had an attention deficit disorder, and he was bullied terrible now he's 6'2", so nobody says anything to him. But when he was a kid, when he was a young kid, he got bullied terribly, even in a parochial school. I even took him out of the public school and put him in a parochial school because I thought it would be better. It wasn't any better. So I really do appreciate it. And I know other people who've had kids. I have a really good friend who lost a daughter to cyberbullying in her senior year. Took her life on the first day of school in her senior year, and she was a beautiful, beautiful, talented young woman, and it was just jealous, mean girls, and it cost her life. So God bless you for writing this, and I would ask that you would open the board for co-sponsorship.
Yes.
We will do so afterwards. Is there support for the motion? Supported by Commissioner Anderson. Clerk will open the board. Members, you may vote at your desk.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, will you open the board for the purpose of co-sponsorship?
The board is now open for co-sponsors.
No, you don't have to. 'Cause you're the sponsor.
Commissioner Webb?
I'm sorry. I thought I hit it. Thank you. Must have
Co-sponsors,
missed.
co-sponsors duly noted.
Thank you very much. Next item.
We are moving to page 2 of the agenda, reports from committees. Report A is from the Committee on Public Services. There are 19 items listed on pages 2 through 8 of the agenda.
Vice Chair Ware.
Withdraw, okay. Thanks. Move approval of Committee on Public Service agenda with the appropriate commissioner's name attached for co-sponsors.
Commissioner Ware moves. Support. Supported by Commissioner Baidoon to approve items 1 through 19 with the appropriate sponsors noted. Commissioner Jesus.
I'd like to be the motion maker for the item 1.
So noted. Commissioner Anderson.
Just had a quick question, if there's someone here that could answer. Was there any consideration by the administration on this to partner with a telecommunications company to have them build this instead of us building it and taking out of Parks money? Is there anyone?
Is there anyone here? Representative Ken Dravis.
Thank you, Representative. I'm sorry, we're still talking about number 1 out of the 19 items, is that what it is?
No, it's number 13.
Number 13, I didn't
Which
hear
is to build a communications tower within the park, within Hines Park, I believe it is. And my question was, with co-location being such a common occurrence, that a company, I'm surprised that a company wasn't, or maybe they did seek out a telecommunication company to build the tower instead of us having to pay for the tower, and then to allow them to locate their equipment on there as well as our equipment.
I think that item wasn't worded very clearly. This is a tower that was already built, has already been built. It was built back in 1994, 95. And this is just an extension of that lease/concession agreement.
So, because it says install.
Well, it was, yeah, right. I mean, the original
But it was
agreement
already
was for it being installed, but that was done back in 94, 95.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Raynard Jones, Corporation Counsel.
Stay there, please, Mr. Jones. Commissioner Webb.
Thank you. Yeah, I asked the same question, because I asked exactly the same question before we sat down, because it does read to install, maintain, and operate a cell site. And if this wasn't something that was already existing, I certainly wouldn't support putting it in the park. But considering that it's already there, then where it says not to exceed, normally, if you can clarify this language for me, normally telco providers, and I worked for one for a long time, pay whoever owns the property they're placing their cell tower on. So this not to exceed 272, we're not paying for this.
No, they're paying the county, yes.
Okay, see.
I'm not sure, yeah.
That's not, see, this is very confusing how this reads. So no, I appreciate you being here today to clarify this for
Right,
me.
in the contract, it does not have a not to exceed amount. I think that's a approximation of what we'll earn over the 10-year period.
Okay, so that's an approximation of what it'll earn over the 10-year period, 272,000?
Yes, because it increases, but the amount of the increase varies depending on a consumer index.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right, very good. Do you know exactly where this is located? I'm sorry, I'm not on the committee, so I wasn't there for deliberations.
It's hard for me to describe. It's
in Westland, I heard.
It's in Westland. It's actually it's not like right in the middle of a park. It's on parkland, but it's kind of next to a dirt road.
It's not in plain sight? Or is it tucked behind the?
It's kind of tucked behind.
Oh, here's someone from Parks, Alicia. She knows. She's like, let me do this.
Through the chair, Alicia Bradford, Parks Division Director. It is within Westland. It's along Hines, but it sits back from the road between Miramum and Inkster, so it's not a noticeable cell tower
Okay.
to the public. It's
Okay.
kind of hidden by the trees and all of that.
Okay. And do they maintain it? Are they doing a good job of maintaining it over this time?
Through the chair, yes, they are. And then we receive that portion of revenue to parks to utilize for NAIC and Mills improvements and any other improvements for the park system.
Okay, wonderful. That's what I need to hear. Thank you. I'm good.
Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you. Question about number 2. Since you came up, it was just reminded me. The improvements of 50,000 for it's for greenery, lighting, parking spaces, gazebos. Is this the total cost for all of these items, or was some of these improvements already there? And do you know?
I apologize, I don't have the agenda, so if I may.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't bring it up with me.
Sure. This is for the
Commissioner Ware.
Hamtramck Park.
Through the
Sarah?
chair, that is the intergovernmental agreement that is allocated from Commissioner Martha Scott to Hamtramck, so that's their annual allocation. That's for their total cost for their project, so that they are allocated from the park millage. Of course, the project may exceed that amount, but they will only be reimbursed $50,000 per the intergovernmental agreement for the project.
Okay, so in this case, you're saying the 50 may be more costly than the 50?
To the city of the Hamtramck, but they will only receive through the park millage reimbursement for $50,000.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Clerk Lane.
To Commissioner Webb's point, for item 13, the language "not to exceed" will be changed to "in the amount of," and also where it reads "the cost of the agreement will be charged to," that will be changed to "the revenue will be deposited."
Perfect. That'll make it much clearer. I appreciate that for the record. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. There is a motion. It does have support. The clerk will open the board.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
We are on page 8 of the agenda, Report B from the Committee on Health and Human Services. There are 2 items listed.
Commissioner Killeen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The committee considered 2 items, recommending both of them unanimously, so I will move them for your approval.
It's been moved and supported to approve Report B. Is there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will open the board.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
We are on Report C from the Committee on Audit. There is 1 item listed.
Commissioner Basham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 1 item to receive and file.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the report on audit. Is there any questions? Commissioner Killeen.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a member of the committee. I think it's important to point out here, this is on the WIC program and the various locations that we have, and we have taken in the audits from HUD, from the federal audits, we've had a lot of findings over the last few years from them, but those are cleaned up. Is there somebody from the department that can speak to where we are in terms of the number of findings in running this program? If somebody speak to that, yeah.
Kamal Keparu, Finance, Management and Budget Finance Director for the Department of Health, Veterans, and Health, Human and Veteran Services. What's your question?
The number of findings we've had in previous audits, I believe the HUD audit has come up clean now, and ours has too, but what's kind of been the history of the number of findings we've had over the last 4 or 5 years with HUD and our own audits?
Well, the history is just over time, just taking our time cleaning up. But of course, with staff turnover and other items, I only could speak from the finance side. From the programmatic side, I really couldn't speak to at this point.
Well, in following this, we have had like 6, 7 findings from the feds going back 3 or 4 years, and that's declined fairly steadily over the last 4 or 5 years. And then this year was the first year in a long time we didn't have any findings. So I think that bodes well for the management of this program.
So,
thank you, Mr. Chair.
And what we did was we began to work closely with Carol Osterberry, the director. I have a finance team, and we got like 3 people that support her. So with that collaboration, we was able to turn it around.
Chairman Basham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That bodes well for the department as well as the auditors of Wayne County. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Great job.
Any other questions or comments on the report? Clerk will open the board. Members, you may vote at your desk.
I want to vote at his desk.
Motion carries.
That's what I want to do.
Thank you. Next item.
We are on Report D from the Committee on Public Safety, Judiciary, and Homeland Security. There are 2 items listed.
Commissioner Clark Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move approval of item 1 and 2.
It's been moved and supported. Go right ahead.
I also notice on item number 2, well, first of all, bring to the attention that this is for the Secondary Road Patrol, item number 2 is. And then I noticed there's an article in the paper that the funding for that has been cut. So is there someone here that can speak on what that will cause us next year? Is anyone from the Sheriff's Department here?
There he is.
Mr. Schaefer? Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
Through the chair, Chief Mike Schaefer with the Wayne County Sheriff's Office.
I noticed at our committee meeting, we talked about the fact that on this item, the Secondary Road Patrol, the funding for it, that it might be in jeopardy. So I just saw an article was brought to my attention that the funding for that has been cut. So how does that affect our Secondary Road Patrol in the future?
So it's my belief that the funding has been cut based on all the other items that have not went through, their budget items that they're having issues with in the state of Michigan and Lansing. We are under the impression that it will be approved once Lansing legislators iron out their differences.
Okay, however, this was yesterday.
Yeah, that was one of their line items along with a bunch of other line items.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so per Lieutenant Gloucester, there's a bill going through the House right now to restore it. I've talked to a few individuals that feel like it's going to go through. And again, as we stated in the meeting that we had last week, it's across the state. It's just not the Wayne County Sheriff's Office.
I realize that it's the funding, the cut affects all of the state of Michigan, the Sheriff's Department and all of the state of Michigan. But that's what we rely on for our Secondary Road Patrol. We've got 9 officers there. And so if our commission members have any sway, they need to certainly use it now, or else we won't have road patrol for next year.
Thanks, Chief. Commissioner Basham.
Relative to all these items, Mr. Chairman, I know it'll pass, but I'm just trying to send a message about retroactive contracts, so I will abstain.
So noted.
Those are on the next committee. None of these are retroactive.
Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you. I may be wrong, but it seems as though we're sort of putting the cart before the horse if we're approving an award that is still in limbo in the legislature. And I wonder if it shouldn't just be to approve a grant application at this stage rather than an award, because it's up in the air, right? I mean, we're approving an award that hasn't come yet. because of what's happening with the budget. And I just,
Good point.
I guess I'd ask our legal staff or our fiscal staff.
Commission Counsel, Felicia Johnson.
Through the chair, so this item is something that Chairwoman Bell granted exigent approval to.
Right.
I'm not sure where it is in the process, but the administration has already been authorized to take action on this item. So the application has likely already been submitted and whatever action needed taken. So at this point, there's nothing to prevent or to stop. It has already taken place. Now, what effect that will have based on what's happening at the state in the budget, I can't answer that because I'm not the financial person. But from a legal perspective, the actions have already likely taken place, and this is just you ratifying the fact that the chairwoman has already approved the item.
Yes, and the exigent approval was August 29th. So,
Chief Jafer.
Through the chair, I want to make sure that the body is aware of the fact that we aren't spending any dollars as we speak with the individuals being temporarily assigned to the jails. I want to make that very clear. And then I don't think that, I'm almost positive this is not a retroactive contract. Am I?
No, you're correct. The retroactive contracts are in government operations.
Yeah.
Not here.
Commissioner Basham.
To that point, Mr. Chairman, I got in front of myself. I'll get new glasses tomorrow. I retract my statement. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make it clear, I believe these are essential, these contracts and these grants that come from the state level, but I was just trying to, and I've always supported them, and I believe it's essential to our communities all throughout the county. But I was just, it was a technical thing. Thank you.
One last comment, Chief Jafer.
Yes, thank you, through the chair. Also, if in fact this bill passes today, when I feel very positive about them bringing back road patrol, it'll be an instant up and running immediately. That's the other reason why we're urging this body to pass this. Thank you.
Thank you. There is a motion to approve Report D. It does have support. Madam Clerk, please open the board.
The board is open. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item, please.
We are on Report E from the Committee on Government Operations. There are 3 items listed on pages 9 and 10 of the agenda.
Commissioner Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'd like to move the complete report items 1 through 3 for approval from the Committee of Government Operations. Thank you.
Item E has been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Basham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am so embarrassed, but I will be abstaining in these 3 items. Thank you.
You're going to be retroactive on the retroactive contract.
Is there any further comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk will open the board.
The board is now open. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item, please.
We are moving to the addenda, Report F from the Committee on Ways and Means. There is 1 item listed. Approval of the 2019 apportionment report.
Considered read. Mr. Vandermergel.
Morning. Scott Vandermergel, Assessment and Equalization Director for Wayne County. What you have in front of you is the 2019 apportionment report of tax rates. And what that is an annual preparation by our office, which is the compilation of all the tax rates for the 104 taxing entities that, and all entities that levy a tax of all kind in Wayne County. So that would include the county itself, the zoo, the school districts, the cities, the townships, the local school districts, intermediate school districts, and so on. And what that does is it indicates the certified tax rates as reduced by the terms of the Headley Amendment and then it takes the tax rates and it spreads them upon the taxable values to develop what the taxes will be. And what the report does is not only present the findings of the tax rate compilation. What we recommend to the commission to do is to adopt what would be called the apportionment order, which is the directive of the commission to spread to the taxing entities to spread the tax rates upon the taxable values at the local communities, which then perfects the tax lien and makes the taxes stick, if you will, on the property. And that gives legal standing to the tax collection process.
Thank you. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
It's been moved by Commissioner Baydoun to approve the item. Is there support? Support. There is support. Just as a matter of process, I am going to call for public comment at this time. If there's anyone from the public that would care to comment on the apportionment report, please come to the podium and identify yourself at this time.
Well, good morning.
Sir, you normally have 3 minutes. We'll give you 5 on this item.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I'd like to try to reserve some time for comments and questions because it's a little bit of a complicated issue. My name's Kevin Noun, and I represent Schoolcraft School District. We've been going back and forth with Mr. Vandermogel and the Corporation Council here on Schoolcraft's millage. Okay, and what you have before you is a report which my understanding lists Schoolcraft's millage as the millage amount, which is 2.27, multiplied by a millage reduction fraction, right? This MRF that's in the Headley Amendment. What Schoolcraft's voters did and what Schoolcraft is asking the commission to do is to approve 2.27 without the MRF being applied. And the reason we're asking for this is exactly what the voters authorized. The ballot language was very clear. It said, and again, you're with the voters by going on this, and what the report you have in front of you is just a recommendation, right? You have the ability to make a decision today to be with the voters and to be with Schoolcraft on this issue. So 2.27 times the MRF. The MRF reduces the amount, right, that Schoolcraft receives, and it has a compounding effect. So this actually creates a multi-million-dollar issue for Schoolcraft over the course of the next 10 years. The issue with the MRF is twofold, right? It comes under the Headley Amendment. So what does the Headley Amendment actually do? There's 2 provisions that are relevant from it. It's Article 9, Section 31, which says the general rule of how you calculate what the millage rate would be. You take your current rate, you multiply it by the MRF. The last few words of that sentence that creates that says without voter approval. So you're prohibited from going beyond that formula without voter approval. And it's exactly what Schoolcraft did. They came in and they got voter approval. The ballot language says that it's 2.27 for 10 years, and it's not subject to without further reduction under Article 31 of the Headley Amendment. So it's very, very clear that this is what the voters were approving. There's no dispute about that. The question then becomes, okay, so you have the right to do it under the Constitution. The voters said you could do it, but then you have an argument from the Assessor's Division, the Equalization Department, that says, well, you can only do it in the year of the vote. So you can override Headley, but only for 1 year? That doesn't make sense. The reason it doesn't make sense is because of Article 9, Section 6 of the Constitution, which was amended in connection with the Headley Amendment, right? So these are the limitations. The limitations set the maximum number of mills, but it also says that the voters have the right to have a millage that exceeds that maximum rate, which is the maximum rate times the MRF, for a 20-year period. So we're under our maximum rate. We did it for 10 years, and what we'd like here is for this board to approve Schoolcraft's millage at 2.27 times an MRF of 1.0. So you have the right under the Constitution to do it, to override the MRF. You have the right to do it for 20 years. What Corporation Council and what the Assessor's Department have done is they've looked at this and said, oh, there's a statute that says, and the language is in that year. But what that statute actually applies to is the renewal of an expiring millage. It doesn't apply to restoring or increasing or a Headley override, and that statute is very clear in terms of what it applies to. It says this cannot be used to create a something different than the maximum rate. It's different than the Headley Amendment, which says without voter approval. That without voter approval is the key language. It's the key phrase that gives you the right to do it. And again, Article 9, Section 6 says you can do it for up to 20 years. We did it for 10. So all we're asking is that this commission approve what the voters did in their constitutional right, 2.27 times an MRF of 1.0. And the other point to keep in mind is this has zero impact on Wayne County's finances. This is an issue that only impacts Schoolcraft. So I'd like to open it up for questions, if I may, if that's all right, because I know this is a lot being thrown at you guys in a very short time period here.
Well, generally, we don't have questions and answers back and forth with public commenters, but you will be followed to the podium by Corporation Counsel, and if we have any questions of him at that time, he will be addressed to the questions, and if you would like to make one more final, which is unusual, statement after the questions go to Corp Counsel, I will give you an additional 3 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay? If Corp Counsel could come to the podium now. Drew, please identify yourself.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Drew Vandegrift. I'm Assistant Corporation Counsel for Wayne County. I'm suffering from a cold, so please forgive me. We have worked with this issue for a number of months, and there are things that we agree on, and there's things that we most decidedly disagree on. Just to be clear, what Schoolcraft is proposing has never been done. It's never been done. There's never been a vote opt-out of a portion of the Constitution. This is a difficult thing for me to do because I like Schoolcraft. We all like Schoolcraft. They do great work, and we want them to get money. We also are, confined by the constraints of the state constitution as well as the General Property Tax Act. So, I guess I would begin by just, saying that I'm here to speak in support of the proposed apportionment that's before you and was approved by the Ways and Means Committee earlier. This proposed apportionment does comport in a legal sense, with the principles of assessment, as well as established practice under the past 40 years of the Headley Amendment. The fighting ground here is whether a millage reduction fraction, which I don't think is disputed, is clearly prescribed in Article 9, Section 31. It says that, if property tax rates increase greater than inflation, that your millage gets reduced so that your revenues are held constant. So there's another provision that says that, you can increase your millage by a vote of the people. That's a very familiar Headley principle to all of us. So Schoolcraft, for the first time, took a ballot question to their electorate that said, let us exceed what has previously been reduced by MRFs and let exempt us from future MRFs for a decade. So we acknowledge, I think any competent attorney would acknowledge the right of a taxing jurisdiction to do a Headley override, right? So you can ballot a question. You can say, look, we used to have, let's say, 10 mills that were authorized. We've had good years through through our taxable values and our assessed values, and so that has reduced our millage, and we would like you, the electorate, to take us back up to that amount. Article 9, Section 31 provides for annual application of MRFs. So this is done from time to time. Communities, they suffer a revenue reduction. Their millage has been reduced through this constitutional mechanism. They take it to the voters. They override, a Headley override. They take it back to that initial millage amount. And then the next year, if their real estate has exceeded the inflation rate as constitutionally prescribed, then they're subject to a millage reduction fraction. So that's the way it's always worked. Now, in their yes.
Are you done yet?
I can wait.
Okay, let's just wait until you're done, and you've got another, we're going to give you the same time that we allowed Schoolcraft. You have another minute and a half.
Understood, thank you.
Thank you.
So the fighting ground is whether, the provision that allows you to exceed a reduced tax limit, allows you to exceed that limit, and then exempt yourself from future reductions for a decade. There's no authority, right, for this. This has never been done. There's not a court case on this because there's never been a ballot issue that's been approved for the exemption for a decade. And Article 9, Section 3, requires annual application of this. So, as much as I like Schoolcraft and I like the idea of creative thinking for increased revenues, it simply is the law. I also will say, just very briefly, that Schoolcraft has avenue for recourse here. So, Scott Vandermerkel puts together a professionally prepared proposed apportionment. Ways and Means has approved it. If you were to adopt it in conformity with past practice, they can seek redress from the Michigan Tax Tribunal. And if it's wrong, they won't be harmed. It'll be fixed the next time around. So, that would be Corporation Counsel's recommendation, is to follow the Constitution as generally understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Sit tight. Commissioner Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Well, I had a meeting with your president on this item. I represent Livonia, part of Livonia, which is in the Schoolcraft District, and the ballot language was approved by the voters.
Yes.
Did it state clearly that this was supposed to happen for a decade?
Oh, yes.
So, so the voters over there in the Schoolcraft District are willing to do this for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're questioning is the legality of them even putting it on the ballot in this form. You're saying it's a violation of the Constitution, that they're only supposed to be able to do it 1 year at a time, yet they're asking the taxpayers to do it for 10 years, and taxpayers agreed to it, but the question itself on the ballot wasn't legal? Is that what I'm...
Well, I would phrase it that the application of that 1 10-year phrase in that ballot language, it cannot be enforced because there's not authority to do it.
There's not authority because there's not precedence.
Well, there certainly is not precedent, but there's conflicting state law, right? So the General Property Tax Act is very, very, very clear that every year there's an MRF reduction. The fighting ground is interpretation of a constitutional provision. So the Constitution says, you can vote yourself higher taxes. You can exceed limits with a vote. That's what they did. And then it says, if your tax rates, are reduced, that's compounded every year. Right? So Schoolcraft says, no. We voted ourselves higher, clearly constitutional, and we've just added a kicker that this, exempts us from this other provision in the Constitution, which, I think has always been viewed as independent, right? That, you're subject to an annual MRF every year, but you can do a rollback, override. So they've done an override, no question. They're entitled to their full millage at the time of the override, but they're subject to this year's reduction. And, for clarity, we're talking about, them getting 99.2% of their revenue from the election, or 100%.
So communities, with that line of thinking, with communities that voted in a Headley override, and Dearborn Heights did that, they voted in a Headley override. They got it from the taxpayers.
Mm-hmm.
So that can only happen for 1 year?
According to the Constitution.
So they would have to go back and pass that vote for a Headley override every single year, even if it says on the ballot language when the people voted for it that it was for a certain purpose?
Communities generally do not do that every year. But if you wanted to have 100% under the Constitution, there's provision for an override, and there's provision for an annual application of the MRF.
Well, I'm just surprised that the attorneys that they consulted prior to putting their ballot language together wouldn't have resolved this before they put it out there. It seems to me like they had their own lawyers that looked at all of this and felt that it was legal and appropriate, or they wouldn't have put it out there. And then the people in an enormous, not just in Livonia, but in the entire Schoolcraft District, which I think includes Garden City, Westland, several Western Wayne communities, and they supported it, I think, pretty well.
Right, and I would add, there's nothing illegal or improper for relying on a local community's interpretation of the legal durability of a local ballot issue. I'm Wayne County Corporation Counsel. There is a proposed apportionment before you today, and so I am merely opining that I disagree with them. I think this is a novel idea, right? This has never been done before, and that's not why I think it's wrong. I'm just commenting that this would be the trial balloon for this, and I would suggest that something as important as a constitutional interpretation for the first time in 40 years that will fundamentally change the taxation for every local unit in the state should be adjudicated by the tax tribunal before we toss out state laws that provide for annual MRFs and what I believe is a constitutional provision that provides for an annual MRF.
To this point, Mr. Rabo, Fiscal Director, please.
Yes, I know that this issue's been going on for a long time, and there's another important factor that I want Drew to address, and this is that Schoolcraft College is under the jurisdiction of not only Wayne County, but they're under the jurisdiction of Oakland County as well as Washtenaw County, and state law indicates that the application of the law has to be consistent with all three jurisdictions, and that at this point in time, our understanding is that Washtenaw County and Oakland County do not agree with Schoolcraft's interpretation, that they agree with our interpretation of the law and suggest that it go to the tax tribunal for final determination of the application of the Constitution.
You're absolutely right. Article 9, Section 3 mandates uniform application of taxes across jurisdictions. So there's 3 counties that would be levied for the Schoolcraft tax, and it must be the same. It must be the same levy. That is not in dispute. That is black letter law that's been interpreted by the state Supreme Court. So, James Heath, my boss, Corporation Counsel, sent a letter when we began to discuss this. Schoolcraft approached Wayne County Executive Office about this issue, and James Heath sent a letter that said, look, we think we disagree, but if you can get the other counties to agree, we're not going to hold you back. We're not going to fight you on this. And we've received no correspondence indicating that either Washtenaw or Oakland County are going to agree with Schoolcraft's position. So today's the day, and it must be uniform.
Commissioner Webb, you still have the floor.
Thank you. He stated in his comment that this is at no cost to the county, that this won't cost the counties anything. Do you concur?
Unless we get sued and we have to defend ourselves.
Right. But as just in doing what they're asking to do with the millage.
That's right. Their millage rate would not affect our millage rate.
I'm just sorry that this is coming up on the fly like this, and we really haven't had the opportunity to hear from both sides prior. Has there been ongoing discussion between the county's legal counsel and Schoolcraft prior to this point?
Yes.
So this discussion, and yeah, because this is the first I'm hearing of this. So it would have been good to have, some previous discussion with all of us and get our questions answered and to be able to go to the outside than rather to make a decision on the fly. And you talk about them having recourse. Is that something that they can save this year with? Or, are you just tossing, because the con to what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, and it makes sense to me, but if the people of this whole district voted for this,
Yep.
are we also throwing out the democracy of the public vote and the public will? Because that has to be considered too. So is it something that can be fixed before it has a negative impact on them this year? Or is it typical to things that end up in attorneys' hands? No offense, but they go on forever.
None taken. They do. Well, to address your question, there is a specific provision in the General Property Tax Act that says if you get a millage rate wrong, you fix it at your next roll, right? So if you're asking for budgetary impacts, right now, we're talking about 0.8% of their revenue in this year. I think the issue that is most concerning to Schoolcraft is the compounding nature of these MRFs. So this year it's very, very little, but next year if there's another MRF, it gets added on to this year's, and then so to the next year, and then the next year, and pretty soon you're talking significant budgetary impact, and that's why they did the override, right? It's because they were there.
Absolutely, they need it.
They've been reduced. They were hurting. The people wanted to support Schoolcraft College, and they had a ballot that exempted them for 10 years. The problem is that laws and constitutions, in our view, Corporation Counsel's view, do not authorize that. So you don't get to opt out of the Constitution by a vote.
But they can fix it within this year, you think?
Well, they would be made whole, but I would only be estimating or guessing at the speed of litigation at the Michigan Tax Tribunal.
Ugh, I've been with the Michigan Tax Tribunal. It took 3 years. By the time they took my case, it was already resolved. It fixed itself. And so I would like to hear what the negative, I'd like to quantify the impact. If we agree with you, and I don't know if it's going to matter anyways, because even if Wayne County does agree with Schoolcraft, I don't know if it's going to matter anyway if the other two counties don't support it, but I think if we did, they might. So I'd like to see how it's going to quantify the problem, the impact it's going to have on Schoolcraft, and that might be something the next gentleman has to do in his 3 minutes for us, but I would hope you would allow us to get that answer, Mr. Vice Chair, on how, if we agree with Corporation Council, how that will impact the community college. That community college is a jewel. It really makes it so a lot of kids that can't afford to go to universities can go to college, and I just hate to see them negatively impacted. I supported that ballot initiative myself, and I'm a taxpayer there. So I would at least like to hear from the other side to see how it's going to negatively impact them, because it won't just be this year with that tax tribunal.
Scott has quantified this.
Oh, Scott has quantified it?
He has.
Okay, you want to share that information?
Absolutely. This year, as I understand it, is $273,669. That grows, right, because of the compounding. And so Scott has projected, right, 10 years. And so there's assumptions in those projections because there may be no MRFs for them during any of those years, and this whole issue may be moot, right, simply because of the mechanisms in their property values. But with those generous assumptions, it grows over the course of 10 years to $4,926,000 over the course of 10 years, if every year is as bad as it can be.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There was a great deal of discussion this morning in the Ways and Means Committee special meeting on this issue, and it just seems as though it comes down to, and I too live in the Schoolcraft Community College District, and it is something that I supported at the ballot. I question, it seems as though, Drew, you made it clear that you see this as precedent setting, that it's in conflict with the state constitution, correct?
Yes.
In both of those questions. And I just don't think would be proper for this, as much as I appreciate Schoolcraft College and I supported the millage and I support what the voters were trying to do. If you're saying this is precedent setting and that additional, I think it was 4 or 5 words at the end of that ballot question is what the county assessor's office and the legal staff has a problem with and think is in conflict with Headley as well as precedent setting. I think it's up to someone else to make that determination. Although we could do it, I think I'm willing to stand by the position of the administration, the legal staff, legal counsel, that they take this, if Schoolcraft wishes to take it to the tax tribunal and have them resolve that issue. But because it is something different than we've had to deal with in the past, and but that's all I have to say.
Commissioner Killeen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of questions on this. One is, as Commissioner Anderson just pointed out, it was a special meeting of Ways and Means this morning to get this here. Has Commission Council, so that's a relatively short time frame, I would say. Has Commission Council been looped in on this discussion prior to the meeting today?
Commission Council.
Through the chair, no, I was not aware of this issue. It was generally mentioned to me But the details, no, I was not involved in the it was indicated that there have been discussions prior to this for months. I was not aware of it, even though it's an action of the commission statutorily. No one advised me of the matter, so at this point, I can't offer any opinion because I haven't had a chance to review all the laws applicable to the issue.
Okay, the other thing I'm curious about here is, let's say the commission takes a vote today and agrees with what the community college is saying. Is Wayne County Corporation Council going to go to the tax tribunal then and say this is not appropriate?
I can't speak for James Heath. I don't know.
Cheryl May.
Cheryl Jordan, Deputy Corporation Counsel. Commissioner Cleen, I don't believe that Corporation Counsel or the county would take a legal position against this, except for that, as Mr. Abbo mentioned, we absolutely can't make this apportionment unless it's in line with what Oakland County and Washtenaw County do to the other two counties there. So I would say that if the commission were to make some action today to amend and approve what Schoolcraft is asking, we really wouldn't be able to take an action. We would absolutely stand against it. We wouldn't be able to take an action unless Oakland and Washtenaw were in conformity, because that would be a blatant violation of the statute. It's not ambiguous at all.
So we don't have an approved apportionment plan yet from either commission in Oakland or Washtenaw, is it? Have those been adopted by those two counties?
I believe that's correct, that neither of those counties have taken an action. We'd be sort of the first one.
So then if we do something different, where does that, and those approved by county commissions, we know this, right? That Oakland and Washtenaw have approved their apportionments?
No, that's what I'm saying. They have not. Oakland County and Washtenaw County have not yet approved their apportionment.
Would be the first.
Do we have to do it now?
What about today's, what kind of a deadline are we facing?
End of the month.
End of the month. Is there any other way other than the tax tribunal to settle this question? No.
Well, when Schoolcraft first approached the county about this matter, they suggested a sit-down, which turned into a facilitation with a retired judge. And that was a question I asked. I asked if there was a middle ground.
Yeah.
And we left that meeting with a suggestion from the facilitator that MRFs be applied as they accrue each year, but do not compound. That was what the facilitator suggested. And with a great deal of respect to the facilitator, I took that back and I consulted statute and law, and I think that's the least defendable of the three options because the law is so clear that it compounds. So that's a long way of answering your question. No, I think this is approaching a binary choice of whether there is an MRF that is applied in agreement with the ballot language or there is not an MRF. Whether there's an MRF applied in conformity with law as interpreted by this office, or there is not an MRF applied, and that would be in accord with the ballot language.
Two more things, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, sir. What if among the three counties, different interpretations are adopted when they approve their resolution? What happens then?
The law is anemic on that issue. It does say that multi-jurisdictions are supposed to cooperate, but the most clear, as Cheryl said, is that whatever the three counties do, it has to result in one millage. That's very, very clear.
That response gave me one more question, Mr. Chair. Are we talking to the other two counties if they're saying it's a cooperation of all the jurisdictions? Are we talking to other counties on this issue?
I believe Scott has spoken, to the assessors in those counties. I have not spoken to my corollary in their corporation council on this issue. I hope I'm summarizing this correctly. My understanding is that both of the assessors in both counties have indicated that they do not support Schoolcraft's interpretation.
Okay, but we don't have votes on that yet. Should we approve it the way it's presented us today? The community college has, for relief, going to the tax tribunal, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there a fiscal harm, because that may take a while, it's been noted. What is the fiscal harm to the community college district if we pass it the way it's presented us today and they appeal it to the tax tribunal? Is there some sort of stay of execution until they decide? Will that leave, what will that do financially? If we approve this the way it's presented to us and it's appealed to the tax tribunal, what does that do to what the community college would collect in terms of taxes?
Okay, so I think I heard two questions there. The fiscal impact right now under the proposed apportionment is about $240,000. I just read it off earlier. I'm sorry, $273,000 in year one.
And then there would be kind of similar amounts in year 2, 3, whatever.
Well, it could be no amount, right? So the MRFs are only, I'll say, activated when property taxes increase in that jurisdiction at a rate higher than inflation. Right. So, but then I think your second question is what sort of judicial relief could they get if they were to go to the tax tribunal? I am not a tax tribunal judge, obviously, but it's a real court that can offer real relief and can issue orders, right? So there could be injunctive relief, I would imagine, that could be immediate if the court were to agree with school.
And this has never come up before in the state?
No, there has never, ever been a ballot issue that proposed to exempt a community from future application of Article 9, Section 31. Every other community has only used it to do a Headley override.
Sounds like there needs to be some discussion on these things being approved and getting to a ballot in the first place, some due diligence. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, thank you. A number of commissioners have requested to speak. In order, they are Commissioner Baker McCormick, followed by Commissioners Basham and Baydoun. Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you. I think my question was clarified, but with the exception, if we don't approve this, they can also take us or sue Wayne County, but they would also have to sue Oakland and Washtenaw, is it?
Respectfully, Commissioner, I think they could sue whoever they wanted. The fact that we have a uniform tax rate in Schoolcraft between the three counties would not require them to sue all three counties. I think when I mentioned earlier a potential cost for litigation, it's imaginable that there may be a taxpayer within the Schoolcraft jurisdiction that doesn't want to pay higher taxes, right? And so Schoolcraft is saying, allow us to levy a larger millage because of our ballot language. They could sue us, right? So that taxpayer could sue us and say, Wayne County did it wrong, in October, and I'm paying taxes I shouldn't pay. But Schoolcraft could sue whoever they want.
Okay. And MRF, can you tell me what that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an obscure principle, but it's very interesting. So, Richard Headley got a bunch of signatures, passed the Headley Amendments, and so the 1970s, and so one of the provisions in Article 9, Section 31 provides for it was designed to control taxation. He was a tax protester, and so among these amendments is a provision that local units of government in his mind should not benefit from unchecked rises in property values. And so there's a very clear provision that provides for annual calculation constitutionally, that if your tax value, if your values of your real estate increase higher than general inflation, so you're having a good year relative to kind of everyone else, then you reduce your millage rate. So if you were levying 10 mills, and all of your real estate now is worth a whole bunch more because you're doing so much better than your peer municipalities within the state, then your millage gets reduced so that your revenue is held constant. So that, no one is penalized, right, for doing well, and local units don't get, in his mind, rich off of it. I'll say the dark side of the Headley amendments is that it severely restricts our ability to raise property tax revenue after property taxes have fallen, as they have in the last decade.
Okay, and so MRF.
A millage reduction fraction.
That's what okay, thank you.
Forgive me, I should have said that first.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Basham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If there was a big disagreement from the Schoolcraft on this, it should have actually been communicated early to the commission and gone to a committee of the whole or something like that. And anyway, I haven't seen anything prior to today on this. I know we could go, I don't know how we go against the Corporation Council, and why is it an addenda all of a sudden, and why are we, we're not involved in this, our commission council's not involved in this, and then why are we changing the next full board meeting on an election day? I like to see people get out and vote and be active in that, and so, I mean, all these, I believe in the the idea that when you put something on an addenda that you couldn't otherwise get passed, it makes sense, but when you throw stuff on at the last minute, that there's been plenty of opportunity for Schoolcraft College to come in front of this commission if they have a problem with it, and I've seen none of that. And to have a civil discourse at a full board meeting, and it's actually, a lot of folks in the audience are actually county employees sitting here for a long period of time when we could be doing other things. And so all this civil discourse should have been done at a committee meeting or a committee of the whole instead of full board. So I fully support the Corporation Council and what they're continuing to try to do. And if they want to do something like this, why don't they get Commission Council involved? I don't want to give her gray hairs and put her on the spot at a full board meeting when in fact she don't even know what this is all about. So I just think it's wrong. I think we should support our Corporation Council and move forward. Thank you.
Commissioner Baydoun.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I believe Deputy Corporation Counsel Cheryl Jordan answered the question precisely. If we were to act on, and by the way, we all support Schoolcraft College. I love Schoolcraft College. I spent many years playing soccer there, competing with Henry Ford Community College. But if we were to go with their position and we pass this, and you have two other counties that are not on board, it's irrelevant. Am I not correct?
Respectfully, I think it would be very relevant because I know.
In terms of will it be, does it help them if we approve it and the other two counties don't approve it?
If the other two counties will not change, then it doesn't help them because we cannot levy a different rate.
Exactly. So that's the point. I think all three counties have to be on the same page. The best course of action for Schoolcraft College right now is to go to the tax tribunal and try, to save this $273,000. If it comes to that, you're not sure if it's going to be the amount to be impacted by, and hopefully, if they want to go back and talk to all three counties and the different assessors in three counties, get them all in the same room, and come back with something where all three counties can approve, I think that's the way to do it. And at this point, I echo my colleagues here, Anderson and Basham. We need to follow the advice of the Corporation Council and go along with it.
Thank you. Any other questions for Corp Council? At this time, I'd like to invite back to the podium the gentleman from Schoolcraft College, and we will give you an additional 5 minutes. I've seen you've been rather animated. There will not be any question and answers for you. We're not going to break new procedural ground today on this issue. So, thank you, Council.
Thank you, Chairman Palomero.
Yes. Once again, sir, please identify yourself.
Thank you. Kevin Allen on behalf of Schoolcraft School District. So I want to address a couple of things. The first I keep hearing is that Schoolcraft's recourse is to go to the Michigan Tax Tribunal. That's actually 100% incorrect. Under the Headley Amendment, Schoolcraft goes directly to the Court of Claims. So we get Court of Appeals judges to look at this issue. We don't want to do that. That's not where we are. We'd rather work with the counties, and I'll get to the other ones in just a second as to where those stand. But what Schoolcraft did as part of the facilitation process and as part of our correspondence with James Heath is we said, look, let us take the brunt of the cost on this. We don't want to sue you. That's not where we want to be. Where we want to be is working together, defending this position, which is what the voters themselves approved. So what did Schoolcraft do? They said, look, if you're sued, if you take this position of the MRF being 1.0, so we're not being reduced for a 10-year period, then we're going to defend it. We'll take the cost. We can't indemnify you. That's not something we're permitted to do as a unit of local government, just as you can't indemnify others. We can't indemnify you, but we can do is control the defense and bear the burden of that cost for you. We're confident in this position. I've drafted the lawsuit. I've drafted the motions that go with it. And if we win, we get our attorney fees. So there is a cost, there is an expense that could be borne, divided between the three counties, and you have to figure out how to do that. Now, I've heard a little bit about what do the other two counties do. We want to follow those. Well, the other two counties want to follow Wayne County, and that makes sense. Schoolcraft is roughly 92% in Wayne County.
Right.
This is the bulk of our revenue from the millage. Where this comes from is Wayne County. You're the leaders. You're the decision makers that will guide the others. I sat in the finance committee yesterday in the morning for Oakland County, and they asked exactly what you did. Well, what's Wayne County doing? And I said, we have a letter from Wayne County. And this goes to your point of why didn't we hear about this earlier? Because we relied on this letter from James Heath, where he said the Wayne County Director of Assessment and Equalization will submit a millage reduction fraction, that's our MRF, of 1.0 for Schoolcraft in the recommended apportionment to the Wayne County Commission this October. Now, I do know that, so that's what we relied on. Now, it does say at the end, we want to know, and this is, contingent upon the other counties doing that. Well, somebody has to make a decision. And if the decision is against Schoolcraft, I know where we're going to end up, and I don't want to be there. I want to be in a position where we're arm in arm, not adversaries. So that's the general overlay, right? Schoolcraft wants this, we want to work with you, but the MRF needs to be a 1.0 for that to happen, and it needs to go for 10 years. So going back to this argument where you hear that there's an annual vote requirement, there is absolutely no annual vote requirement in the Constitution. I want to read you exactly what Article 31 says so you understand this. It says, a unit of local government, that's Schoolcraft, shall not levy a tax or greater than the amount determined by reducing the maximum rate, so this is the amount that's authorized by voters, and again, this is a prohibition, right, shall not. So the maximum rate authorized by voters by, mathematical term for multiplied, a millage reduction fraction, that's the MRF. So you're prohibited from having a rate that exceeds the maximum times the MRF. And here's that last language. So the millage reduction fraction as provided in this section without voter approval. That's the right that the voters have. It's a constitutional right to override the MRF. That's exactly what happened here under the ballot language. Nobody disputes that. So the in that year requirement comes from a statute, okay? It's a statute I said earlier I don't believe applies. But even if you thought it did apply, right, what's a statute cannot trump the Constitution. The Constitution controls. An implementing statute cannot nullify, impair, or create an undue burden with respect to a constitutional right. Voters have a constitutional right to override the MRF. Voters have a constitutional right to pass a millage for up to a 20-year period. These are constitutional rights that the voters have. The statute can't take that away. The statute can't say you have to have an annual election every year that says, oh, no, this 20-year thing, ignore it. You have to do it every year. That's creating a new burden. And by the way Headley is drafted, you would have to do this before April 30th of every year. There's no elections that take place then. You have to have a special election every year. The cost is prohibitive. The burden that would be created to have a campaign on an annual basis is prohibitive. The risk that voters would be confused is prohibitive. It creates this additional layer of complexity that's not necessary when you have explicit rights within the Constitution to override the MRF and to pass this for a 20-year period.
Sir, your time is up.
Thank you, sir.
I believe we've been unusually accommodating to allow you to speak twice, to extend the time limit twice. I'm sure Schoolcraft should be proud of your advocacy here today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for participating. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Killeen.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to be clear on a couple of things here. One is, when I was asking about the other counties, it had nothing to do with playing follow the leader. If all three counties need to be on board in the same, so I just wanted to clarify that. Secondly, when you draft these ballot proposals, and we had heard earlier that this was a novel one, this was never written this way before, and I'm sure when you sit around with your attorneys and your people to draft ballot proposals, somebody would have said, this is a novel approach, it's never been tried before. So that gives me concern. Also, as a legislative body, I don't feel at this late date that I can sit here and referee constitutional issues. Heck, my own counsel hasn't even weighed in on this. So to me, it seems with these constitutional questions that are being put out here, the most appropriate thing is to go to the state tax tribunal and let them sort that out. This is a law of the Michigan legislature. People are saying there's constitutional issues. I can't arbitrate that, just hearing about this starting a half hour ago. So I'm going to be voting in support of the proposal as moved.
Well summarized, Commissioner, and whether it's the tax tribunal or the Court of Claims, I believe a higher authority will ultimately decide this issue. Not that high. Any further questions or comments? A motion is pending. Clerk will open the board.
The board is now open.
Clerk will close the board, tally, announce, and display the vote. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Page 11, upcoming committee and task force meetings.
Considered read. Commissioner Ware.
Thank you. I just want my members on the Committee on Public Service to note that on Tuesday, October the 22nd, our meeting is at 2:30 p.m. Thank you.
Commissioner Jesus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee on Economic Development, it will be moved till 12:30 p.m.
12:30?
p.m. on October 22nd.
So noted. Any other changes or modifications? Next item.
Public comments.
Do we have any cards?
No cards.
We do not have any cards. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to comment here still this morning before the Wayne County Commission? Anyone from the public? Hearing and seeing none. Next item, Madam Clerk.
We are moving to new business. There is one item listed requesting commission approval of modification number 1 to a 1-year cooperative agreement with a 1-year option to renew between the Charter County of Wayne and Enabling Technologies.
Considered read. Commissioner Webb.
Thank you. I'd move approval of the item.
Support.
Moved and supported to approve item 11A under new business. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Killeen.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just why is it coming to us this way without going through committee?
You want to take that one because they didn't get it in time to process everything and get it to
Mr.
committee.
Perez?
Yes.
Hello, Carlos Perez, Chief Information Officer for Wayne County. I do apologize for bringing this now. The real reason is because there's a penalty to not having it approved, and the impact that implementing SharePoint will have on the county is pretty significant, and I guess it just seemed a shame to lose $10,000 when we're really ready to get started now, and that's why we asked for immediate consideration.
So I'm going to rely on the chair of the committee who has looked at this, and I know is all over these issues. You have no problem with this.
I have no problem with it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Carlos. Any other questions or discussion? There is a motion. It does have support. Members, you may vote at your desk.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
We are on page 12 of the agenda, testimonial resolutions and certificates of appreciation. There are 11 items listed.
Vice Chair Ware.
Move approval.
Been moved and supported to approve item B, testimonial resolutions and certificates of appreciation. Are there any additions or corrections? Commissioner Baidoon.
Thank you. I have one addition. We didn't get it in on time for YABA, the Yemen American Benevolent Association celebrating their 50th anniversary, and I just wanted to add it to the resolutions.
So noted, will be added. Any other additions or corrections? Members, you may vote at your desk. All those in favor of the testimonial resolutions and certificates, so vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
We remain on page 12 of the agenda, item C, memoriams. There are 3 names listed.
Under memoriams, Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, we lost one of our greatest persons in Washington this morning. And this one is a hard one. If there was anyone who I wanted to see us through what is going on with the president, is this gentleman. He just recently lost his wife, and now he is gone at the age of 68. And I would just like for all of us to pray for his family, and may God let his soul rest in peace. He chaired one of the most important committees in the Congress. So, I would just like for all of us to pray.
Elijah Cummings.
Yes. This one just floored me because I was driving this morning when I heard it. So Congressman Elijah Cummings passed away at the age of 68 this morning, who had really been so instrumental in this impeachment. So I would just hope that all of us would pray for his soul, and God grant him into your kingdom. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I could not agree more. Congressman Cummings, Chair of the powerful House Oversight and Reform Committee,
Yes.
was not only a great orator, an impassioned advocate for justice, victims of mass shootings, and the poor, and he will be sorely missed.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Coleman.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Sir Chair. I too would like to extend my condolences to the family and to all the citizens in Maryland.
Yes.
As well as throughout the nation. This Congressman Elijah Cummings has been a model, a role model for our youth to follow. He stepped out and he fought for fair justice, justice for all. And he will be sorely missed. I too hope that he would live long enough to get past what we're going through currently in Washington. But may his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Baydoun.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also would like to echo my colleague's sentiment here. We truly lost an iconic civil rights leader. It's because of him and the other civil rights leader we have these laws on the books today to protect all Americans, including the minorities who have been discriminated against for many years in this country. May God rest his soul in eternal peace. And again, I do extend my sincere condolences to him, to his family, and to the entire nation.
Any other? Commissioner Haydos.
Thank you. I also like to add my voice to my colleague, and we be missing a great statesman in this country. And I also like to add two names from the city of Wayne. John Rowland, he's a friend of mine, and he was in some sense of funny community activist. So he always brings some remark in a funny way, and we will miss him. And the other name, it's John Norton. It's the son of the former mayor, Pat Norton. John was born with Down syndrome, and he lived long enough to save his mom and dad the sadness of losing son, because Mr. Pat Norton, he passed away, and his wife too. So less than 2 years after the pass of his mother, he passed away. So, and the whole community sharing the sorrow, and keep them in your prayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other additions? Commissioner Webb.
Thanks. Yes, I just heard yesterday, sorry that I didn't hear this earlier, but I ran into Judge Charlotte Worth, who is a long-time judge in Redford Township, just retired, just lost her mother, Ruth Lewis. She was about 90 years old. She led a long life, and she was quite a pistol. She was actually, her husband was actually the head of the Republican Party there in Redford for a really long time, but she always used to tell me, I know you're a Democrat, but you're a good one. So she would walk me around and introduce me to everyone and convince all her Republican friends that they should vote for me, even though I was a Democrat. But she was a great lady, and she'll be missed in the community, very active in the community. Even in the old folks' home, she played piano for the other seniors. She was a real nice gal, but so she'll be missed, and her family, Judge Charlotte Worth and her husband David, would just like to extend my condolences on the record to them. Thank you.
Thank you. The clerk will add the additional names mentioned. I would ask members to vote at their desk in support of item C, memoriams, and also ask, I'm sorry, there is no vote, but I would ask you to rise in a brief moment of silence for all of those mentioned today. Thank you. Next item.
We are on page 13 of the agenda, reconsiderations.
Commissioner Clark Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. An item on the Committee on public services slipped past me, and it's very important to me. So I'm asking to reconsider Report A, Item 3, because I'd like to be the maker of that motion, since sits right in the heart of my district, and it's very important to the citizens in my district. So if possible, I'd like to be this to be reconsidered so that I can be the maker of that motion. It's a $2.1 million project, road improvement project on 7 Mile Road from West Outer Drive to Wyoming. That includes also 7 Mile Road to Livernois.
I believe we can accommodate that request. We have to do it one step at a time. So Commissioner Clark Coleman moves to reconsider the adoption of Report A. It's supported by Commissioner Scott. Members, you may vote at your desk. All those in favor of reconsideration? Right, this is a vote to reconsider. This is not a vote on adoption with new sponsors. This is just a vote to reconsider.
Yes. Who supported? Scott.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is also for reconsideration. This is regarding,
No. Hang on, Commissioner Scott. Let's do this in order here. Are you talking about, that report has been reconsidered, so now there's going to be another motion to approve Report A. Do you want to comment? I'm sorry here. Let's go to Commission Counsel,
So
Felicia Johnson, to untangle this baby.
So we were reconsidering specifically Item 3, not the entire report. Just Item 3
Okay,
was the motion.
just to be clear, we were only reconsidering Item 3 in Report A. I thought I heard Report A, but only Item 3 in Report A is what's been reconsidered, just so we're clear on that. And let's take care of that issue.
the one for Hamtramck, the parks. That was public service, number 2.
Okay, so,
Now we need
no, you keep going. I mean,
You need to vote.
okay, what do we want to do with Martha G's issue now?
Well, wait.
Different report to reconsider. Okay, so now we're going to do a motion to,
It's on the same
Report,
report.
different item.
It's just a
It
different
was
item.
public service.
Commission Counsel.
So through the
Right,
chair, if
Item
we can,
2.
did you finalize that vote?
No, we haven't taken, did we take it?
We didn't vote.
The board is, I don't believe, has the board been closed and finalized to reconsider item A3? Now, you want to reconsider another item? Is that a motion in order?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to put it in there, because I knew it was a... Okay.
That's what I was trying to do. We almost got through this thing fairly clean, little tax law, constitutional matter, and now this.
Right, so
Go ahead.
seeking clarification. So we're all on the same page. Was the motion for reconsideration for the entire report, or was it for a specific item, Item 3? Because when I had a discussion with Commissioner, we were talking Item 3. So if we're doing the entire report, then we're going to re-vote on the entire report, and we can do both together. So if I get clarification on what the first motion was, I can tell you what to do next.
Well, then, now you've given me the opportunity to jump back in.
Okay.
What I heard Commissioner Clark Coleman move was to reconsider Report A in its entirety. That's a motion that I'm going to recognize.
No, I said reconsider Report A, Item 3.
I understand you discussed Item 3, but I'm going to, so we can do this as cleanly and efficiently as possible, we're going to allow Martha G. to get in here too, so that we don't have to keep doing reconsideration motions.
Okay.
And then we'll make sure that you sponsor Item 3 and Martha G. sponsors the item that she needs to sponsor, number 2.
Number 2, right.
So just to clarify, members, what you have voted on, and if we need to take a revote, Pam, we can do that too. What I heard was to reconsider the entire report, Item A.
Yes.
has been reconsidered by an affirmative vote. Is that accurate, Madam Clerk?
The vote you just took was on the motion to reconsider, period. That was the vote that you just took. Now there'll be a second vote to actually reconsider whatever it is that you're actually.
Right, we're going to take another vote here.
Okay, so yes, you're right. So we're reconsidering Report A, that is the vote.
This is the vote, to reconsider Report A in its entirety, and as I understand it, everyone has voted. Report A has been reconsidered, so are we good? Okay. The next motion is to approve Report A with the same sponsors on all those items except for item 2, Martha G. Scott, item 3, Commissioner Clark Coleman.
Can we get an actual motion?
Motion to approve by Commissioner Baydoun, supported by Commissioner Webb, to approve Report A with the same sponsors as shown before, except items 2, Commissioner Scott, item 3, Commissioner Clark Coleman. Is there any discussion?
And just to clarify, because we just wiped out that first motion, then Commissioner Haddis is the maker of item 1. We need to, because we got to do it all over. So Commissioner Haddis was item 1, and then you just did Commissioner Scott for item 2, and then Commissioner Clark Coleman for item 3.
Is there anybody else that wants in on this? Get in right now while the getting's good.
Okay. Motion.
Are we clear?
Please put it up on the board.
Clerk will open the board on the motion by Commissioner Baydoun
Yay.
with the sponsors as noted by Commission Council.
The board is now open.
Can we vote?
Members may vote at your desk.
Hallelujah.
Madam Clerk,
Carries.
please close the board, tally, display, and announce the vote.
Motion carries.
Hallelujah. Next item, Madam Clerk.
We return to page 13 of the agenda, remarks by members.
Any remarks by members? Anyone at all?
Time to go.
Well, if you don't have any, I will make just a brief remark. Thank you for your patience today with me. I want to thank Pam. There weren't too many curveballs, a little one at the end, some constitutional law, but all things considered. Well, and Commissioner Baydoun mentions a baseball player that there is a follow-up to the story that I told you a month ago about my cousin's son getting called up to the major leagues. And this, to me, is almost like a Ripley's Believe It or Not, Paul Harvey rest of the story. From that same family, Commissioner Basham, I'm going to get to you. You had your chance earlier, but no one raised their hand, so I'll get to you. From that same family, my other cousin, the sister to the one cousin, she has a son who is an athlete, who played hockey at Wyandotte Roosevelt High School, led them to a state championship and was Mr. Hockey, went on to a career at Ferris State, and earlier this week made his debut in the National Hockey League for the Minnesota Wild. His name is Gerald Mayhew. He scored a goal against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and tonight he's in the lineup, and I just got a text from his mom, Katarina Mayhew, who was the deputy finance clerk for the city of Wyandotte. His parents were there. My brother was there. We had a big family. I was watching on TV. It's a very neat story. The family is extremely proud of Gerald Mayhew, and for two sisters to have two boys make it to the highest level of pro team sports within a month of each other is very unusual, and I thought worth recognizing. So thank you for allowing me to do so. Commissioner Basham.
All pucks flow downriver.
They do.
But the question I have is, why are we having a full board meeting on Election Day, Tuesday instead of a Thursday?
Commissioner, I did not set that date.
Then let's vote on it.
Well, I don't know that's a proper motion.
I'm just being facetious. I'm just telling you
Okay.
personally, I don't like to change our full board meetings, especially when we change it to an election day. A lot of communities like to vote, and I've always encouraged people to get out and vote. When we start holding our formal full board meetings on a Tuesday, there's a briar under my saddle. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member comments?
I just want to, second, for the record, I'm going to second that too. I'm always active on Election Day, and I don't know why we're having a meeting on Election Day either, but thank you.
Commissioner Clark Coleman.
Maybe we can ask the chair, Alicia Bell, for reconsideration of this date.
I think that is in order. You can ask the chair whatever you would like.
Just let him get out of here.
Any other remarks by members? Commissioner Baydoun.
Mr. Vice Chair, I just want to applaud you for a job well done. This is the first time I've seen you. I think this is the first time you've actually taken this podium being the chair, but I think you're a natural at it.
Well, Commissioner Baydoun, thank you for your kind words. I've been here 21 years. I don't ever recall the vice chair having to chair a full commission meeting before.
Wow.
It's the first time it's happened. It won't bother me at all if it's the last time, but I'm glad to step in and not muddle it up too bad, I hope. So.
You did very well.
Thank you, Sam. Motion is in order to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Webb, supported by Commissioner Jesus. When the commission stands adjourned, it is adjourned until Tuesday, November 5th at 10 a.m. unless modified by the chair bell. Without objection, we're adjourned.